You like jazz?
So for those who don't know me, hi, how you doing? So, transportation, a concept that's been around for thousands of years. Basically a quicker way of getting from point A to point B without having to rely on our feet. Though I think quicker would be kind of an understatement depending on what exactly is used for the scenario. Now considering how in the media industry that you can make anything about anything, the subject itself is no stranger to this. We got things about trains, cars, boats, and whoa! The Mole series is better, in my opinion. Now besides those, you think this is all we have in terms of the subject. But what if I tell you that there's one film, about the bicyclette? Which is where our subject is for today. Bikes is a Spanish-Chinese anime film that was released in 2018 and would be given an English dub a year later in 2019. Now while this sounds like a good idea concept, the execution itself is downright terrible. In fact, people even said that this feels like a ripoff of Cars. I already talked about them in my episode of Jinbao, but unless this is your first time here, they're basically days made with little effort to compete with anything more successful, all for the sake of
Money.
Anyhow, with all that said, might as well dive right in and see whether or not this should be bound for the breaker's yard. So, let's get right to it. This is Spokesville, a town inhabited by living bicycles, including our hero of the story.
Oh my goodness!
This is Speedy, who's starting today as the town's mail bike in place of his grandfather. And y'all are going to start getting used to seeing this because the facial design for every character in this film is
whack.
Anyhow, we then meet Speedy's friends along the way. Pinion, an excitable bike equipped with a camera, conjoined brothers Tan and Dem, with Tam being blind because he has no eyes, and Dem being his guide since he can't drive for the both of them either. Gassy, a living irate air pump who runs a fitness yard with 3 other bumbling air pumps working for him. Oof, this film is getting more absurd by the minute. And I don't mean that in a good way. And Montana, a bike who runs a restaurant known as the Grease Shop, who insists on referring to her dad, the mayor of Spokesville, as just the mayor. What kind of oddball offspring insists on calling their parents by what they are? There's also these bank owner bikes named Romulus and Remus, with the former of the two playing for them to own the whole town. Probably for capitalistic reasons. Anyhow, the mayor says that the town hero of Spokesville, Rock Bikerson, is returning home tomorrow and will be given the town alloy key, with Speedy being excited about this since he looks up to Rock as his idol and becoming an official racing bike. He then goes to see Chan, an old wise inventor, and tells him about Rock's return and how he sees it as a chance to do some training. But Chan tells him that if he does, he would leave behind his duties as Spokesville's mail bike, and even telling him how both his race training and mail duties are like his yin and yang. Next morning, Rock arrives at Spokesville as scheduled with an announcement for the future of the town and its citizens by introducing a new invention that will make anyone who's equipped with it just as fast as him. And that invention is called
the gas motor!
What? Everyone is skeptical about it, but Speedy assures them saying that Rock has all the answers for it and how it could be helpful. This makes everyone now want to try it, with Romulus and Remus, who I guess were responsible for helping Rock get funding for the thing, giving out the loan contracts on the motor. Rock then offers Speedy a race through the woods, who agrees as long as Pinion comes along. During their run, Rock asks Speedy if he could be his official spokesbike for the motor, and he even says he could give one to his grandpappy for free. Back in town, everyone's fitted with gas motors for a new factory that somehow just appeared. Okay, not just that, but a gang of bikes known as the Choppers arrive as well. Now, this one here is named Colonel, but the other two's names were never mentioned either, so for the sake of this video, we're gonna call the bearded one Frank and the rusty one Nantucket. We'll call him Nantucket.
Oh, dirt bucket.
These 3 are serving as the administration team for the motor company, but they're an honest group, so they offer anyone who can afford to pay for refueling a job in the company's clean department, or they can always serve their time in prison. That's kind of extreme if you ask me. Speedy tells his grandpa about being fitted with a gas motor, but refuses, saying how it isn't exactly the solution to speed. That night, Montana organizes a resistance group known as the Pedal Rebels, involving her, Tan and Dem, this one bike that works at her grease shop named Lulu, and even Gassy. Now, they're all rebelling against the motors because not only are they bad for the environment, but also because of the conflicts happening amongst the townsfolk. Also, I just want to point out this one bit here where the discussion for the protest was sped up. Even the production team was like,
Get on with it!
Next morning, they put their plan into action, starting off with graffitiing anything promoting the motor, only to get caught by the choppers. At the same time, Speedy tests out his own motor, and everything goes well for him until he crashes into the admin bikes. Rock then arrives before anything can escalate further and sends the admins away, followed by him hitting on Montana. Rock talks to Speedy about complaints via their bikes that the motors are causing problems, but says that it's themselves who are the problem because they're not looking up to Speedy and to take advantage, part in it. Whatever that means. Montana and the others catch up to Speedy and ask him to be their leader in the resistance after his stunt with the choppers, but Speedy thinks she's saying nonsense and tells her that he's sticking to helping Rock and promoting the motor. Montana then tells her to make a choice between Rock or his friends. So Speedy decides to go see Chan. At Chan's yard, Speedy tells him about the motor and the resistance group, with Chan reminding him that it's Yin and Yang providing the answer. So Speedy decides to keep sticking with Rock and promoting the motor. During a parade, however, a leak has sprung in the aqueduct, spilling out oil that can threaten the town's ecosystem. But Rock assures that the oil is eco-friendly. Pinion points out that it isn't normal for aqueducts to carry oil, and Montana asks Rock where it's all coming from, before her dad and Officer Hornblower sends everyone off so the leak can get fixed. With Speedy now convinced that something's afoul, he and Montana need to find out what's really going on at the waterworks. Speedy says that he's going to help a show performed by Rock that night, so Montana has Speedy help by distracting Rock that way while she and her friends break inside. Once they're in, they learn that, surprise surprise, the oil isn't organic at all. They're about to leave with this information, only for the choppers to appear, but before they can do anything, Colonel hits a lever which causes one of the machines to blow up. Yet somehow everyone has survived. Nantucket says what happened and Rock takes this to fall of the rebels and orders a bike hunt for them in the name of justice. Next morning, Speedy goes to see the mayor, bound Montana, as how she wasn't seen since last night. Rock is also there, who has learned that she was behind what happened. He tells Speedy to bring her and the rebels to the mayor to soften the consequences, but by the time he met up with them, it was all but a ploy, with Rock ordering the arrest for all of them.
They got me too.
Shut up!
That night, Speedy sent some Morse code to Chan to send out Gassie's workers to break them out. They made their way over to their cell for the air ducts, and you wanna know how they broke everyone out?
No.
By using their tires to use as balloons to fly their cell away from the prison.
How is that even possible?
I'm flying. I'm flying.
That's some shonky business right there.
Everyone soon arrives at the town entrance where Chan meets up with them along with Speedy's grandfather, and it's at this point where they tell everything behind the gas motor. Years ago, when Speedy's grandfather ran the mail route, he wanted to find a quicker way to get it done. So he approached Chan, and they tried all sorts of ways, but nothing worked. That was when Chan had a breakthrough and built the motor. It worked, but it also came with its problems. Speedy's grandfather was still determined to make it work. So one night, he decided to test it alone, only for the machine to suddenly blow up, causing him to crash and leave him unconscious for hours, until Chan found him burnt and bruised from the wreck. After the incident, Speedy's grandfather could no longer find himself to run the route, so he decides to bring in Rock as his apprentice. His speed made him punctual and on time, but also lost who he was in the process. Chan mentions that he's working on a new type of motor, one that should be faster than a gas-powered one. Later, Speedy, Montana, and Pinion travel through the forest where they follow a pipeline that appeared there until they find the source, an oil farm pumping from a mountain in the forest, and in turn, causing all plant life there to die out. They return with proof of Rock, Romulus, and Remus's services being an exploitation scam, along with saying it was the choppers who caused the explosion at the waterworks, leaving them to flee. Romulus and Remus then arrive and say that the rights of the motor are obligated with them, until Chan rolls in and tells him off that he never gave them the rights, leaving him as the true owner. As a way to resolve this, Chan proposes a race between Speedy and Rock. The winner will have the motor's rights given to the party he's racing for, and the loser will be banned from Spokesville. Later, Romulus and Remus need to find a way to make sure Rock wins the race, so Romulus fights the choppers at a bar outside of town and recruits them to help sabotage the race in their favor. At the same time, Chan presents everyone the prototype of his new motor. The motor is electric powered, and it should be more efficient than the other one. Next morning, after getting fitted for the race, Rock and Speedy take their positions and are well on their way. Effectively, the electric motor worked as well as Chan promised it would, and at some point, Speedy managed to get the upper hand, even after a few tricks done against him, including one involving dropping a statue of rock on top of him.
You can't be serious.
That was until one trick causes Speedy to blindly run through some sprinklers, which short circuits the motor. Even so, Speedy pedals on without its help, just as Rock's own motor suddenly fails. With only their own pedal power to provide them, both bikes are now neck and neck with each other, and in a photo finish, Speedy wins the race.
I never lost sight of the finish line, Rock. Thank you for the advice.
So in the end, Speedy becomes the new town hero of Spokesville, Rock and the Choppers have been locked away in disgrace, and the townsfolk are now dependent on the electric motive.
And me? Well, I'm his best documentarist. But that is another story.
Yeah, like that's ever gonna happen. Alright, so what are my final thoughts? Animation. Animation is alright. It's not terrible by any means, it's just alright. One thing that irks me, however, are the faces for the characters, cause for the most part, and like I said earlier, they're whack. Some of them more whack than others. Like for example, how did Nantucket Damn It that Unicycle Speed's grandfather have cartoony eyes, while everyone else has them near their faceplates and on their headlights or whatever? Especially when you take Nantucket himself to mind, cause his look like they're gonna fall off. Not to mention this wine animation error of the pipes clipping through the trees. Now that is a big undersight. Writing is eh. The film's world building is really confusing, like how there are living air pumps amongst the community of living bikes, or how some of the bikes are fitted with mechanical arms and hands, or even how they're able to breathe organically if they're all basically machines. I mean, I will give the movie points for going for an environmental message on switching to cleaner energy, so yeah. Dialogue. Dialogue was average. For a good handpick of each of the characters, they seem to share the same voice artists with each other.
If you work really hard, Speedy, maybe one day you'll get one too.
You can always pay the company by working in the gas tank cleaning department.
Oh no.
I also believe there was some in the English cast. This is probably the first time doing any voice acting at all, as there were some mispronunciations and grammar errors heard from some parts of the film. Like,
Doing inventory?
and
You stroke them like a bowling pins.
my personal favorite,
Rock? Rock Bikerson in Spooksville?
music. I don't really have anything to describe the music. I mean, it is just a basic kids movie type soundtrack. You got the rock theme for whenever Rock or the Choppers show up, a Malevolent theme for whenever Romulus and Remus are on screen. The only piece that stood out was his old-timey theme during Speedy's grandfather's backstory. And I guess there's also some original songs here too, but they didn't really stick out to me either. Overall, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this any longer. This film is bad. Again, I do appreciate the message it was going for, but the overall story feels weak and really bizarre. It doesn't really help either with all the rip-off allegations people made against it. Not to mention the sequel drop it hinted at the end. That's really gonna make people invested in it. Personally, if all the characters were human, let's say, maybe this would have been a different story. But then again, this still would have turned out bad regardless, but who's to say, really? Now I will say to avoid this film at all costs, as it's not worth anyone's time. But unless you want to watch it with your friends anyway, just to riff on it, then sure, go for it. Again, this film is really bizarre, and let's just say there's plenty of oddities in here that I didn't brought up earlier. But that's gonna be for you to find out. Well, that's another one done and gone. Starting to see a pattern here at this point. I look at a good or okay thing, then I look at one or two bad things, and yada yada yada. Hopefully the next thing I look at is actually good. Anyway, might as well hit the rails and...
Make it big.
You know what? That's it. I'm walking the rest of the way down. I don't care anymore.